So hello everyone, welcome to this another video of Scale Up India. I'm Abhishek Verma and you are watching the Hibernate series. So far we have covered so many important concepts in this series. Like initially we just saw how to interact with the database and configure the Hibernate. Then we saw how to perform CRUD operations with the help of Hibernate. Then we learned what are the various ways of generating the primary key and how to do the association mapping in Hibernate. We also learned about inheritance mapping in Hibernate. Then we also learned about Hibernate query language, that is how we can make more complex queries also, and how to solve the n+1 query problem. Then in the recent video we also learned about Hibernate criteria API and how to write the queries programmatically using that. Now because of all these things, believe me, now you can call yourself a Hibernate expert because you will be able to answer most of the questions. But still, there are some of the things which are generally not covered with the help of code, like the Hibernate Entity Lifecycle. So this is a part which most of the developers just ignore because they don't need to worry about this much. Yeah, but it is still asked in interviews. So in today's video, we are just going to cover about Hibernate Entity Lifecycle. Now this video is going to be little different from my other videos because here I'm not going to do any live coding much because most of the things you already know and I'm just going to reuse the things. My only focus is to show you about Hibernate Entity Lifecycles. But the thing which you will find different here is that while in other videos people will explain you the topic with the help of presentation or just theoretically, but since it is Scale Up India, so I'm going to show you the same thing with the help of code also, with the help of some sysout statements that actually in the code how the entity goes from one state to another state. So without wasting any more time, let's directly get started. So now let's first of all try to understand it with the help of a small presentation. And believe me, these are not very big, but only just two different slides. Yeah. So generally we say that this is our application, a Java application, Maven based, where we have implemented the Hibernate, and then this is going to be our database. Now what we feel is that our application is going to directly interact with the database because of Hibernate. So because of Hibernate, because of JDBC, we will provide some of the things in the application. Let's say we are going to save something, fetch something from the database, and it will directly interact to the database. But in the reality, that is not a case. Between our application and database, there exists something like a persistence context. So this persistence context you can assume like a cache. So this is a very small cache between your actual application and the database, and this cache came because of Hibernate only, and or you can say even because of the JPA. So in Hibernate, this cache exists because of your session. So if you remember, in order to perform any operation with the database, we need to take help of the session object. Because of this session only, we have this particular persistence context. So this persistence context will get started when you are going to start your session, and it will be closed, or you can say it will get deleted the moment you are going to close your session. So this is the one thing. Now generally we call it as persistence context. Also we can even call it as first level caching. We are going to discuss about more on first level caching in the next video, but as of now our simple focus on this persistence context. So this is how we understood. So that means that first our application will interact with the persistence context, and then the persistence context is going to interact with the database whenever we want to save something. Same way, whenever we want to read something, first of all the data will come from the database to the persistence context, and then it will go to your application. Again, very easy to understand. Yeah. Now let's see that whenever we invoke various different methods with the help of session, then how this particular works. So here, as you can again see, I have just made it with the help of rectangle here, the persistence context, and this is my database. Now here, let's say the initial state is transient or new state. So generally whenever, if I take example of our application only, So the moment you are going to say new of owner. So whenever you are saying new of owner, at that time your entity is in transient or new state. So this means that currently it has nothing to be related with the database. It doesn't even exist in your database. So generally you see that in our service layer, we create the entity like saying new of owner or new of pet. Then we pass on it as an argument to the repository method, and later on we perform some operation. So by the time we are passing it to the repository method as an argument, so currently it is in the transient or the new state. Now after this, in order to save this entity, obviously I will be performing the operation, and you can tell me in the comments what is going to be that operation, because I guess every one of you know this. Yeah. So that is going to be persist method. So we will invoke this persist method, we will pass it on our entity, and now our entity will come in the persistent or managed state. So this is the state. Yeah. And even in the Hibernate documentation, they make usage of both of the terms. They call it as persistent also, sometimes they call it as managed also. Yeah. So this is the point. Now when it is in the persistent or managed, so currently you see it is still in your persistence context only, it is not in the database. So here we say that whenever our entity is in persistent or managed state, then it is going to reflect a kind of a row in your database. Yeah, it may be an actual row, it may not be an actual row. Now why I'm saying so that it may not be an actual row, because as of now you have not committed it to your database. Yes, so you have only decided it to a persist, but by the time you don't call commit, it will not get saved in your database. Agree? Everything will get committed or everything will get saved only when you will commit. It may happen that you are calling persist, but after that because of some reason you simply call the rollback. So at that time also it will got not saved in your database, and it will remain in the persistent or managed state. And also you see that this persistent or managed state I have written within my persistence context. So transient and new is outside it, but persistent and managed is always in your persistence context. Yeah. So this is one thing. Now we have saved it. Now let's say after some time we want to read it back from the database. So for obviously that we will be calling the get method here. We will be passing the primary key as well as the entity class. So we can simply call the get method, or you can say we can make usage of HQL. We can make some query and then fetch it, or we can make help of the Hibernate criteria API. Yeah. Just in order to make the slide simple, I have not added them here, but these are also the ways of fetching the entity from your database. Now whenever you will fetch it from your database, first of all it will again come to the persistent or managed state, and it will exist in your this particular persistence context that is within your session. So again I hope this particular part is clear. And at this point of time, since you have fetched it from database only, so at this time we will say it represents a real row. So when you are reading, at that time it represents a real row, but when you are saving, at that time it may not represent a real row, because till now you have not even invoked the commit method. So this is the thing. Now these are the two states. Now two more states are left. Now let's say that after reading it back, it is in the persistence context, and now I decide to delete this entity from my database. Now in order to delete it from the database, I will obviously call the remove method. I will pass on the entity to my remove, and then this will go to the deleted or removed state. So again in the documentation both of the terms have been used, deleted as well as removed. So this is the thing. But again see, as of now the moment you are saying remove, it is not deleted from the database. Still it exists in your database. So as of now it is not yet deleted. When it will get deleted? When you will actually commit this operation. So when you are actually going to commit this operation, at that time it will be deleted from your database, but not before that. So there may be a chance that your entity is in the deleted state, but it still exists in your database. Yeah, because it may be a possibility that again you are going to do a rollback here. So again there is a chance. So that is about the deleted or the removed state, when generally we invoke the remove method. Yes, but generally when it will get changed in the database, when again you are going to commit this. Now the last state is that many times we wish to update our entity also or modify our entity. Now that is something which we can do, and for that, if you remember, we make usage of the merge method. So that is one of the method. But before you make a merge method, it can also go in one more different state, and that is, what if you say session.evict entity. Now whenever you will say session.evict entity, now evict word, if you see, we hear it in the Big Boss also. So in Big Boss also they say that okay, this person has been evicted this week, okay, that particular person has been evicted this week. So what is the meaning of eviction? Eviction is to remove. So when we say session.evict entity, it is actually removed from your persistence context. It is not deleted from the database, just removed from your context. And what was that context? That context was just a simple cache. Yeah. So whenever you are going to evict it from your cache, then it will go to a detached state, that now it has nothing to be related with the persistence context. Although it's a part of your database, but it doesn't represent something in your persistence context here. Yeah. Now there are various ways also of detaching it. That is, you can even say session.clear. Now it may be a scenario that you have read around, let's say, 10 entities from the database. So all the 10 entities will come in your persistence context. Now one option is you evict them one by one. Other option is you simply say session.clear, and then again it will go to the detached state. Other option is you can simply close your session. So whenever you are going to close your session, again it will come to your detached state. So generally when we are returning the entity from a repository method, so you see, after you return your entity from your repository method, at that time first of all we close the session and then we return. Now since we are closing the session and then returning, so we have actually detached it from the persistence context. So that is the meaning of detaching. Now what if you want to move it back to the persistent state? So in that case the option is you can make usage of merge method. So generally merge method, as I mentioned you, we make use in order to update or modify the entity. But today I will show you that even without merge method you can update or modify the entity also. How, that I will directly show with the help of code. But what happens is that in case first you have evicted it, so it will get in the detached state. Now again if you say I want to merge, so again first of all it will go to the persistent or the managed state. There are again chances that since you have already read it from the database, so it will represent something in your database, and then again when you will commit, then the change will be reflected in your database. Yeah. So these are the various states, that is transient or new, persistent or managed, deleted or removed, and detached. So for detached they didn't give a second name, but these are most of the things or most of the states we have in the Hibernate. Now generally for the interview this much information is enough, but if you want to see the same thing in action also, that how the same thing will look in the code, for that you can watch rest of the video. Otherwise if you wish you can quit the video now itself. Yeah. So now let's move on towards our coding part. So here we are in our demo 21. Again I have just copied it from my previous demo, and believe me, there is nothing new here. I have only the same CRUD operations, which I guess you have already seen in our demo 2. Yeah. So whatever the methods you saw in the demo 2, same CRUD operations I'm having now also. There is no HQL here, there is no Hibernate criteria API here, simple CRUD operations, simple basic operations. Yeah. And again let's go here. So first of all let's go to this input util. So our today's goal is not to focus on the various ways of writing the code, but focus is to explain you about the various states. So here that's why I have written it like this, that press 1 to demonstrate transient state, press 2 to demonstrate persistent, detached or deleted state. Also, since I need to take the input from the user and add a new owner, new pet also, I just don't want to spend more time in writing those inputs. So that's why I will be taking some of the defaults value here if I wish to save new owner or save new pet. Yeah, these things I will be using. Mapper util is same, service IMPL, repository, each and everything is same. Just in order to explain you these topics of various state, what I have done is that in the repository IMPL, I have made some small changes. So let me just quickly show you here. So this is my save owner. Yeah, and I'm not showing you service IMPL because it is same like the previous videos. So this is my save owner. Now generally you see that we open a session, we begin a transaction, and then what we do? We simply say persist and then we commit. So after persisting, I mentioned you it will go to the persistent state. Now my goal is to show you that it will move from one state to another state. So Hibernate as such directly don't give you any method by which you can print the state. So that is not possible. The only possible option is that you can take help of this session only, because I told you session is only which is going to represent your persistence context or the first level cache. So we'll take help of this session and we'll say contains method. So this contains method will simply check whether this owner object is a part of session or not. So what I'm doing, I'm checking this thing before persisting and after persisting. So before persisting, when I will check, if I will see that it is a part, so I will say that okay, this is in the persistent state, because the moment it will come in your session, it will be in the persistent state, and then it is going to have some ID also. And you remember that this ID is something which we generate with the help of our code only, like basically not with the help of code, but automatically we are going to generate. So here I can just quickly show you, or basically in the base class. So we are going to generate it with the help of identity. So there is no way that I'm going to pass it as a hard-coded identity here. Yeah. So let's come back to this particular repository IMPL again. So this is the way. So now if it is a part of my session, I will say it is in the persistent state, and obviously some ID must be generated. In case it is not a part of it, then it is in the transient or the new state. Same way after persisting also I will check. Yeah, after persisting and before committing. So at that time also we will check. Now believe me, after committing only it will get added to the database, but ID is actually generated before that. Yeah, so this is an interesting part. Same way this find owner is simple. Here I won't show you anything. This is just for the purpose that whenever we are going to modify our entity, we can see whether it exists or not, whether the value has changed or not. So it is the same old method. Then this is your update pet details. So you remember we used to provide the owner ID and the pet name, and we used to update the pet. So what I'm doing, I'm just starting a transaction here. I'm getting the owner object. I'm checking whether it is null or not. In case it is non-null, I'm setting the name to the pet. Yeah. And again after this I'm checking whether it is in the persistent or the detached state. Yes. So here I'm using the word detach here because I want to show you that example. Yeah. And interesting part, you see that I'm not calling the merge method here. So I'm not calling the merge method, and directly I'm saying commit. Still let's see whether it will get saved in your database or not. Yeah. So without even the merge method. Generally I always say that whenever you are updating something, you should be using the merge method. Today I'm not using. Let's see whether it will get updated in the database or not. Then the next one is again the update method, but here I have done something different. After setting the name, I'm checking its state and then I'm evicting it from the session. So I'm first evicting it from the session and then I'm committing. So after evicting also, again I'm checking which it is in which state, persistent or detached, and then I'm committing. Again I'm not using any merge here. If required, later on we will see that whether we should use merge here or here. Yeah, so that we can add, it is just a single line. So this, and this is your last fifth method, that is delete owner. So we are just passing the ID, we are getting it from the database. So obviously it should come in the persistent state. Then we are removing it. After removing, we will again check whether it is in the persistent or deleted state. Yeah. So again, like as I told you, there is no way from the Hibernate you can get it. So you need to hard code this particular thing. Yeah. So this is the only way you can check, and then we are again going to commit. Now some of you may see that okay, after closing the session also you should check. Now believe me, it is going to be in your persistent state only when it is a part of persistence context. Persistence context started when you started this session here, and it will get ended the moment you are going to end your session. So because you are making usage of try with resources, your session will be removed or will be deleted the moment you are going to close this try with resource, or you are going to commit this in case there is no exception. Yeah. So now let's see the same thing, and our database is same like earlier. So this is our database, same as old. So let me just open this. So you can see all the owners are available, and here we can see that all the pets are also available. Yeah. So same thing, domestic pet and wild pet. So I'm using that simple example only. So let me just simply start this code. So I'll go here and I'm going to start the code. So let's see what it is going to do. So first of all, let's try to see about this transient state, and I'll open this code in front of you here also parallelly. Yeah. So we'll go to this. Now I'll press 1 here. Yeah. So now since because I have already provided some of the default values here, so before updating the code on the GitHub, I'll remove these defaults so that you can take it from the scanner. I'm doing it in this way. So I'll press 1. Most of the things it has already taken. Mobile number is always unique, so hence it is asking me to enter. So let's give mobile number as 90. Yeah. And currently, as of now, I have not added. So let me just show you how many owners I'm having. So the last ID is 72 here. I'm not sure whether it is clear to you or not, but this is the last current owner ID which we are having, 72. And script is already there with you in this src main resources. So you can check from there also. We are just adding 72 owners by default. Then the email ID, so let's say email 90. Yeah. And domestic or wild pet, so any pet you can add. Let's make it wild as of now. So let's see what it has printed. So if we go here to our repository IMPL, so first of all it started your session here, then it started your transaction here, and then we are making a first check whether it is in the persistent or transient state. Now since we have not invoked the persist method as of now, so you can see this is in the transient state. Yeah. So although I have just mentioned it, as of now you will say that what if I call it something else? That is your choice. Yeah. But if you will say that I will call sun as moon, it won't become moon, it will remain sun only. So I'm basically checking whether it's a part of my session or not as of now. So currently entity is not a part of my session, which means entity is not a part of my persistence context. It is not a part of my primary cache, and hence it is in the transient state. Yeah. Then I'm executing this persist method. So because of this persist method, one entity get updated in the pet table, one entity get inserted in the wild pet table, and one entity get added in the owner table. So these are the 3 insert queries which will get executed because of your persist method. And then again if you will check, so it will say that now it is in the persistent state. So now it becomes a part of your persistence context, it becomes a part of your session, and also interestingly you haven't even committed, but it is actually showing you the ID also, that it is going to make with the ID 73. So there are chances that after this, instead of committing, somehow you will say no, I will roll back. So in that case what will happen? If you are going to roll back this, then this ID 73, this particular entity will not be saved in your database. Yeah. But this 73 number will remain in your this context only for the temporary purpose. So temporarily it has generated the ID 73. Yeah. Now you say what if I roll back? You roll back, then you enter the same ID again. It will give you 73 only, because in the database we had only 72 owners earlier. And now if I refresh, so now it will say this 73rd ID has been added here. So these are the values. Mobile number you can see 90 here. Yeah. Email also 90 here. So this way we understood how your entity goes from the transient to the persistent state. So your transient state even started in the service IMPL. Currently, when you are passing it as an argument, still it is in your transient state. Only when you say persist, then it will go to your persistent state. Yeah, not before that. And the moment it will persist, it will generate your ID. Then if you will commit, it will make a change in the database. If you roll back, it won't make a change, and this 73 will have no significance in that particular case. Now let's see the second part. So now let's directly delete first. Okay, so deleting is going to be easier here because with update I need to show you two different methods. So let me directly go to the delete part. So for this I'll say 5 here and I will enter the ID. So which ID we can enter? Let's enter ID as 20 here. Yeah. So ID 20, and this is your delete method. So let's see what it will do. So when I say delete method here, so first of all, it is making one select query. Now why this select query? Because in service IMPL you saw, so even before deleting, I'm calling for the find owner. So because of that, one select query got executed. At that time it found that okay, owner is not null, so let's delete it. Otherwise it would have thrown the exception. So this select query is because of it. Then let's go to our this repository method. So again you started your session first, then your transaction, then again you are getting. Hence because of it, again it gave you one more select query because you gave this particular transaction here. Yeah. Then after this we are saying contains. So just after getting we are saying contains, and then it is showing you this persistent state, that it is the persistent state, and currently this ID 20 is actually a row in your database. Then you are calling the remove here. So the moment you call the remove here, so again for this also it is actually checking whether this exists or not. So believe me, even for the remove it is also checking whether it exists or not, and then it changes it to the deleted state. Yeah. So see, I'm just checking it in the contains. So I have not even committed here. So I have not even committed. I have just removed it from the persistence and checking whether the session contains owner or not. So it says session doesn't contains. So we can say it is in the deleted state. Yeah. And after this, the moment you commit, then it will be actually deleted, and then these 3 delete queries will be executed. So that is the point here. So again, let's say you say I don't want to commit. So in that case, it will be removed from your persistence context, but not from your database. So that is the thing. And persistence context is nothing, again your cache only, a kind of a cache to make your job simpler. Yeah. Now let's learn the next part, why. So now we are going to provide this as 3. Okay. So we are going to enter option as 3. So 3, let's go here. Yeah. So I'll give this 3. The ID of owner is 10. And let's give the enter updated name of the pet. Now for this ID 10, let's see what is the current name. So if I go to this and ID number 10, the name is Oscar as of now. So currently the name of the pet is Oscar. Let's change it to Oslo. Okay. So let's make it Oslo as of now. Then let's see what it is going to do. Now again, let's see what it happened. So first of all, we'll go to this service IMPL. In service IMPL, first of all, it is checking with the find owner. So hence a select query got executed at that point of time because of this particular find owner. Yeah. So basically these 2 select queries got executed. Yeah. Because first it is fetching your owner and then it is fetching your pet also. So two select queries got executed because of this. Since it was there, so it is not throwing you any exception, and then it is directly going to your this particular thing, that is the implementation. Yeah. So here let's go. So here again you are checking for the get. Yeah. Since again you are checking for the get, so again 2 queries got executed, one for owner, one for the pet. Now after this you updated the name here. So this we are setting. After setting, we are checking whether it is in persistent or detached state. Since it's a part of session, it is in persistent state, and ID will remain temp, what is there in your database. Now you see nowhere I'm saying merge. So nowhere I'm saying merge, but even after that, because of this commit, it is executing the update statement, even if I have not written the merge. So merge is not important as of now to do. Yeah, because since it was already a managed entity, so on the managed entity, if you are going to perform some operation and you will directly commit, it will get directly saved in the database. You don't need to explicitly call merge here. Although as a good practice from the day one onwards, I told you that always whenever you are updating, you should merge here, but it is not mandatory as such. Yeah, although it's a good practice. So it is updating. So why I'm saying it is a good practice? So that it is making for you easier to understand. Otherwise you will feel that okay, I have not merged, how can it change? Yeah, so because of those reasons. So even if you write, there is no wrong practice with this. Yeah, but if you don't write, then also this is going to work. So if you will find some magic code sometimes in your actual production code, then you can praise this particular part here. Now let's see whether it has actually changed or not. So let's enter Y and press 2 this time. So that was the purpose of that part. So if I press 10, so let's see. So here it says the name of the pet is Oslo. So even without merging, it is changing the name of the pet to Oslo. The reason is because while your entity was in the persistent state, at that time only you updated the name and you simply committed. So it directly reflected in your database because already it was a part of your database. Same way here also you can just quickly verify. So you can see on ID 10, now the name is Oslo here, OSLO. Yeah. Now let me show you the next part. Why? And this time I'm showing you with the detached state. So with the detached state, again I will give ID as 10 only. Yeah. And name of the pet, let's say make it as Polo. Yeah. Now let's see what happened this time. So this time what happened is that this time in the service IMPL, we are calling the other method detach. Again, first we are again checking for the find owner. So 2 queries got executed because of this. And then we are calling the repository detach method, this one. So this repository detach method we are calling here. Let me just scroll it a bit and it like this. Yeah. So now what we did, we opened the session, we opened the transaction, we are getting the owner. So when you say we are getting the owner, so again it is making a select. So 2 queries got executed. Then you updated the name here. Now since you updated the name, again you are checking. So it's a part of your session. So it says I'm in the persistent state, ID is 10 here. Then you are saying evict. So when you actually say evict, you see there is nothing or no log as such between these two lines. Because when you say evicting, you are just removing it from your cache. It's a way that you are just simply clearing your cache. So hence there is no statement as such, but after evicting it from the cache, if I execute the same code again, it says now it is in the detached state. So now this contains give you false. So we can say this is in the detached state. Yeah. And this time again, we simply committed it. So after evicting, we simply committed it. Yeah. And then here it says that okay, pet details has been updated successfully. Why? Because this was actually a hard coded line in the input util. Okay. Or sorry, in the demo, it was the hard coded line. But this time you see there is no update query got executed. Why the update query didn't got executed? Because you have already evicted it from your session. So you updated the name, but after updating the name, you evicted it from your session. So it was not a part of your cache. Now when something is not a part of your cache, then you are saying that whatever is there in this empty cache, commit it. There is nothing in your cache. Yeah. So when there is nothing in your cache, how can you commit it? So if there is nothing, so it is not executing anything. And now here, if you verify again, so with this ID 2, ID 10, so you see that still the name is Oslo only. So it didn't made it as Polo because you removed it from your cache. So after you have removed it from your cache, it's not a part of it, then how can you commit it? So in these kinds of scenarios, your merge is important. Let's make that change here. So after evicting, let's say session.merge. Yeah. And here let's say owner. So in this one. So after evicting, now I'm saying merge here and then I will commit. Now let me execute this again and I just need to execute this last part. Yeah. So I will say 4 here same ID 10, and again this time let's say Polo. Now when we will say Polo, now let's again see. So first two queries because of your service IMPL, then again these two queries because of your this particular get method in the repository, then you are updating the name, then it says I'm in the persistent state, yeah, then you have evicted it from your session, so no query because of it, and then it comes to your detached state. Now after detached state, when you say merge, so now when you say merge, then what you are actually trying is, first you removed your owner from your cache, so you removed it, then you say no, I want to merge, so you try to merge it back. But when you say merge this time, so actually it is executing two queries. Why? Because when you say merge, so it will say that okay, I can merge something only if it is existing in the database. Only then I can merge. Otherwise, how can I merge? You will ask me to merge anything. That is not possible. So what it did is, it says no, I'm not going to trust on you. Let me again try to fetch it from the database if it exists or not. So it is fetching, and then when it is confirmed that it exists, then it is updating for you. Okay, so this is the point here for the updating particular part, yeah. And then you see that now again it says that it has been updated successfully, update query got also executed. And now if we verify with ID 2, so let's again check it for 10 here. So now you will see that it has updated the name to Polo here, yeah, because of your merge. So merge is basically important in case you have removed it from your session. So because of some XYZ reason, if you have removed it from your session, either because of you have evicted this entity only, or there were other methods also. Let me just quickly show you. That was session.clear. Another one was session.clear, where you are removing everything from your session. In that case also it is important. Or in case that you have basically came out of your this particular thing session. Okay, so in case you have completely came out of your session, in that case also this merge is going to be helpful for you, because in that case you have closed your session and then you want to update. So when you want to update, so again it will first check. That's why generally as a good practice, in case if you are not getting it, so if you say I don't want to perform the get operation, directly you can perform the merge operation also, because merge operation will again check whether it exists in the database or not, and then only it is going to update it, yeah. So that is the point. But this doesn't mean that now you will stop using the merge here, yeah. So as a good practice, always make usage of merge, yeah. So that's it for this video. I hope you understood all the entity life cycles, all the entity states, with the help of my diagram also, and with the help of this code also. And if you found it interesting, then you know that you just need to like the video, you need to share it with your friends, and you need to subscribe. Thanks everyone.